Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Will It Steam Controller, the show that asks the question, can I play this game with a Steam controller? And as we all know, the answer to this question is always yes. Today, we're going to be looking at the intense dungeon-crawling roguelike Darkest Dungeon. I've been a big fan of this game since way back when it was still in the Kickstarter stages. The game has you controlling a group of adventurers as they make their way through an estate that has been overrun by eldritch horrors, zombies, and the like. Gameplay-wise, it has a side-on view with turn-based combat, a deep leveling and class system, and a genuinely unique and intense stress system. The bulk of the gameplay has you taking a group of 4 heroes into the Darkest Dungeon to cleanse the place of evil. Heroes and enemies take turns attacking with a variety of moves that can either only attack from certain positions, or can only be used from certain positions, or both. For this reason, the order of your heroes is almost as important as the composition itself. Aside from combat, you'll be trudging through dank corridors, looting chests, and taking spikes to the face from traps. Fun! So, can this unforgiving dungeon crawler be played with the redoubtable Steam controller? You might think that the mouse-heavy gameplay would make this game too clumsy for it, but I'll show you just what I did to take this game from the computer desk to the living room. The first thing to get right is the mouse feel on the trackpad, because no matter how you slice it, we're going to be using the mouse a lot. I started with the official configuration from the developers, and the default mouse settings worked great for me. Just a little bit of momentum, not too sensitive or twitchy. You can adjust the amount of haptics to taste if you like a little more grumble on your mouse movements. I like having the right trigger as mouse button, but you can instead use the right trackpad click as left mouse button. Sometimes using the trackpad button as the click makes me move the cursor a little when I press it, making me a little less accurate. But you can do whatever you want, I'm not your dad. Now, slap the right mouse button on the left trigger. Now that I think about it, it seems kind of backwards to do it that way, but here's my theory. Most people are right-handed, and it just feels natural to have the right trigger on the go button. Whether it's firing a gun or pushing the gas pedal on a car, the right trigger is the go button. And conversely, the left trigger is the alternate function. For driving games, it's usually the brake, and for FPSs, it's iron sights. So we'll just use the left trigger as our alternate function button, since right-clicking in Darkest Dungeon usually brings up additional info on whatever we're clicking on. The next few things are pretty straightforward, just simple button press to keyboard mappings. I set Y as the tab key, which will swap between the inventory screen and the map view when we are in a dungeon. The B button is escape, which lets us back out of menus. Then set the left joystick click in button as 5 on the keyboard. This is what we'll use to swap characters' positions when in game. I set the joystick as WASD keys. A and D move your party through the dungeon, W enters doors and interacts with objects, and I don't think S is used, but we'll let him stick around for now. The left and right bumpers are Q and E respectively. These buttons let us switch through characters' stat pages when we have them pulled up. Alright, now here is where things are going to get a little buck wild. Using your hero's skills is done by using the 1 through 4 keys. I also wanted a way to scroll through menus without having to use that tiny little scroll button. So, what I did first was set the left trackpad to scroll wheel. Flicking my thumb up and down on the left trackpad is now the same as spinning the wheel on a mouse up and down. But I also wanted to use that trackpad for the number keys. What we need to do is set a mode switch for that trackpad. Mode switches are separate buttons that, when pressed, switches the output of a certain set of buttons to something else. I set the mode switch button to actually be trackpad click. Then in the mode switch menu, I set the alternate mode for the trackpad to be a D-pad, with the 4 keys being 1, 2, 3, and 4. This means that I can use the trackpad as a scroll wheel as normal, but then when I push it, it simultaneously switches the D-pad mode and presses whatever direction I have my thumb on. Cool, huh? The next little trick I used involved the torch level indicator at the top of the screen. In Darkest Dungeon, the amount of visible light significantly changes the gameplay. If the dungeon gets a little too dark, monsters can get the jump on you more easily, and your heroes get stressed out much quicker. So you gotta keep that light level up. I don't think there's a hotkey for using a torch, although I can simply click on the torch icon at the top of the screen to do this, so I had to get a little creative. There's a setting for the trackpads called Mouse Region. Turning this on maps the trackpad one-to-one from your thumb to the mouse cursor. You can also set the center of this mouse region as well as the height and width of the mapped area. See where I'm going with this? I set the mouse region to be centered on the torch icon by moving the vertical offset in the menu. I didn't want this behavior to be on all the time, so I instead put all of this after a mode switch, using the right grip to switch modes. So, whenever I pull the right grip, it immediately moves the cursor up to the torch icon, letting me click on it with the right trigger right away. And that's it! I now feel confident that I could sit on my couch playing this game with the Steam controller and never even think about having to get up and use a mouse and keyboard. Now it's time to rescue my estate from the clutches of eldritch horrors. If you have any suggestions for changes I could make to my mapping, just let me know. I'm sure y'all have some great ideas, and I may even come back and revisit this game if I get enough good suggestions. Do you have any other games you'd like to see me tackle? Don't be afraid to give me a challenge. Me and my Steam controller will chew through anything you guys throw at me. Thank you for watching.